Click.
Bro, you might be artistic. Now, before we dive really deep in this video and manual swapping my 99 fake Cobra Mustang, I am going to give you a brief rundown and a brief description on making this as easy as possible for you at home to manual swap your new Edge Mustang. As you can see behind me, I have some pretty good experience with these chassis of cars, as well as your SN95. So we're gonna be covering 96 all the way to 2004 in this video. Just stay tuned. I'm gonna give you some useful information here in the beginning before we get to putting everything into the car or the video of that. And stay tuned, make sure to watch it all the way through. That way your car actually works and runs. But let's get into it. So to make it literally as easy as possible, you're gonna wanna find a full entire drivetrain essentially of the transmission, the drive shaft, your clutch cables, your pedal box, all of that stuff that is gonna be needed to be swapped into an automatic. So to take, for example, say I wrecked my drift car here that we did do the manual swap, and I wanted to put them in my new clap box that has a 4R70, you would have to essentially take a lot of the stuff out of this car, which I will be telling you how to piece together if you can't find a whole swap, but they are pretty much readily available out there and they're not that expensive. I think you can normally get one for around 1,500 bucks on the high end, low mileage transmission wise. So if you're gonna start off with the 96 to 98 platform, not gonna be too hard. You're gonna look for a T45 primarily. You can find those pretty cheap. I found a bunch of Cobra drivetrains. In fact, that's actually what I got in this car, which is a 99, not the ideal swap, but you can run a 96 to 98 transmission in it. The best thing for that is if you have a tune, you're gonna need to get it tuned regardless, and I recommend going through Mustang Lifestyle. They tuned this thing, they've tuned a bunch of our other cars, and honestly, they're the only ones I know of that can actually get the speed shaft sensors on the 97 transmission to work on a 99, because these are mechanical from 96 to 98, and those, the factory 99s, are electronic, so that would throw your speed way off. So in order to do this swap, what we have is a 97 Cobra transmission, flywheel, clutch, shifter box, the pedal assembly, and the clutch cable all swapped in what was a 4R70 car, and that ended up working out well for us. We have to run the wiring harness from a 99 because the difference is 96 to 98, the wiring harnesses are different. They're a one connector at the firewall, which I'll show you right fast. Coming over here, you can see, so this connector right here is going to be your main transmission connector. There's one right down there, and then there is going to be another one that runs around to, I think, over right here. So this transmission connector right there, that is off your transmission harness. You're gonna undo that when you take out the transmission, and you're gonna pull it out with the transmission. Make sure you have one for the manual. It is difference between manual and auto. This is an auto car. This was an auto car. We swapped it to manual. It is completely plug and play. So if you're like me, 97 transmission or the previous SN95 in a new Edge, it's gonna need a harness for that. Vice versa. If you're 96 to 98, you're gonna have to run the transmission harness for your car in it, and it's gonna work. Trust me, it plugs right in. 4R70 straight to the new Edge chassis or to the SN chassis. The wiring harnesses plug in directly. All your connections down there will work with the manual transmission of your choosing. That is super easy to do. So transmission, big one. You're gonna need the manual transmission. Next up, you're gonna need a wiring harness that matches your manual transmission, whether that be the 96 to 98 trans or the 99 to 04 trans, 3650, T45, whatever you have, it'll work. Just make sure you get the wiring harness for that transmission and then the transmission. Next up, moving into it, is the pedal box assembly. That does not matter. This car still has the 97 transmission or the 97 pedal box assembly in it. It fits just like this car, which is an 02. The only difference is if I come down here into the floorboard and show you, as you can see, we got the pedal box here. So wiring is automatically there. There's no difference in the wiring. Coming up into here, you can kind of see, so we have the clutch neutral safety switch, which is run right up there. That's going to be off the pedal box. As you can see, that factory wire that's plugged into the bottom connection is there from the factory. There's not a top one on the connector up there, just the bottom one. That's there from the factory. There is a few more wires that are ran up here to the pedal box assembly. That is all also factory. No issues there. Everything there is standard as in the 4R70 as is in the manual cars. No difference. It's automatically there. You don't have to do any wiring in the swap. As long as you get the right wiring harness for the transmission and a manual pedal box that has the clutch neutral safety switch and the other switches in it, it all plugs in. Brake switch plugs in, everything plugs in throttle cable. You don't have to mess with any of that stuff. To get that out, you have to undo the steering rack. It is kind of a pain. Probably the most painful part of the entire swap is swapping the pedals. The other thing, which you'll see on video, is you have to cut the trans tunnel to fit the manual in there. So the trans tunnel for the automatics are a little bit narrower, so you do have to cut that out. That's not that bad to do. We did mine afterwards because I don't care. This is a drift car and it's getting thrashed, but you can find templates online to actually cut it before you put the trans in. That would just be easier, or you could kind of mock the transmission up and then just cut around it. But really and truthfully, the left side is fine. You just got to cut around the right side. Now for the clutch cable, I'll show a comparison. So this car, like I said, manual swap. We have the clutch cable that runs in there, runs down to your pedals. While you're in there, go ahead and do your clutch quadrant and go ahead and put an adjustable clutch cable. You're gonna want to, these cars need them anyways. So I would just go ahead and do that while you're at it. But this piece is already there. So you can see right here, this car, like I said, manual swapped. You're gonna see in this video, this car is an automatic. You can see the piece is still right here. There's even indentations down there underneath of it where the screws go into. I just found that it's easier, they kind of come self-tapered. You're gonna have to take a small drill bit and drill that out if you don't have a good like impact, and it's really hard to get in there, especially with the 4-valve. But yeah, you can just drill that out, and then the clutch cable runs into the pedal box through the underside and then bolts in there, and then it just runs down around the front of the valve cover, runs down the subframe, and then loops back around and runs through there. Really and truthfully, if you got an adjustable clutch cable, as long as you run it out of the way of the steering shaft, the headers, stuff like that, and I just kind of moved it with the wiring harness. Normal rule of thumb, if you're gonna run any type of aftermarket accessory, if you run it with the wiring harness, it's gonna be out of the way. So I just ran it with the wiring harness. So essentially, if you're, like I said, auto car, you're gonna run it around, down, and essentially loop it back into the frame and run it back. And you'll see the slot on the side of the transmission where it just goes in and notches in. And then if you have adjustable clutch cable, get a buddy in there, feel out the clutch, tighten it up, get it all set up, and it's gonna work great. This car has the best feeling clutch out of every new edge I've ever driven, and it's got a lightweight flywheel, no issues or concerns. It's way better than my standard manual 3650 new edge that I have. This one drives way better. Now there are a few things that stay the same. Your starter, don't have to worry about swapping that out, stays the same. The flex plate and the dust shield that goes around it, you have to make sure to get that off the car it came off of for the transmission for proper alignment. If you do that, your starter will be perfectly fine. Now there is a difference, I do mention it when we're doing the install later in this video. There is a difference between the flex plate bolts and the flywheel bolts. You wanna make sure you have proper flywheel bolts. They are not one-time use, but I do recommend at least putting a little bit of blue Loctite on them and torquing them down to spec. This car, aluminum lightweight flywheel and a clutch in it, no issues with it. It goes straight on. Just want to make sure that you have the exact right crankshaft. Some of these cars have different crankshafts on the 2-valve setup. Some are 8-bolt and some are 6-bolt. You want to make sure you have the right flywheel for the right crank of your car. That you're going to have to do your own research on and figure that out yourself. But you're definitely going to want to make sure you have the right flywheel bolt pattern. If you do, it bolts in, clutch bolts in. Don't have to worry about it as long as you have a GT clutch. Bolts right in. Then your transmission, the bell housing bolts. I use the automatic bell housing bolts and haven't had an issue. But if you do a swap like I did with this car, swapping an auto for a manual, just go ahead and swap the bolts for the bell housing too. But other than that, really much a pretty straightforward swap. I don't think the drive shafts are really actually different. They might actually be different, but I mean, I swap drive shaft anyways. It just is easier. And if you're gonna do it, I just automatically recommend going ahead and getting a one-piece aluminum drive shaft rather than the one-piece steel. While you're in there, go ahead and take care of it. It's not that expensive to do, and it's gonna make a difference in how well these cars drive. Drive shafts do a lot, so just put an aluminum drive shaft in it, make sure you get the correct one for your vehicle, as well as transmission mounts. You wanna make sure you have the right transmission mount. This car, like I said, 97 trans, there's a different transmission mount between the SNs and the new edges. I made sure to just keep the transmission mount that came out of the automatic. It bolted directly up into the car. So if you have a 99 and newer, putting a 97 transmission in it, keep your factory 470W mount and it will fit. Vice versa, just use your factory mount, it bolts right up and have no issues. And last but not least, like I mentioned earlier, if you're doing this swap, you're gonna wanna tune the car. It's kind of a necessity. I mean, your speedometer is gonna be way off, like I said. When you do the swap, the main thing, if you get Mustang Lifestyle to tune it, which like I said, I highly recommend, the biggest thing, count your gear, the mechanical gear on the 96 to 98 transmissions, their mechanical gear versus the electronic. Count the teeth on it, that will tell you exactly what pulse you need to have. He can tune it, making adjustments on the PCM for there, and that will get your speedometer at least somewhat close. You'll still have a little bit of off, but it's not really gonna matter. matter. This car don't have cruise control because the ABS rings are gone, and you can see it's a drift car. I don't really care about that. So it's really not that hard to do. Really and truthfully, this swap is pretty straightforward. All of these cars were set up. There's no wiring involved. As long as you have the right harness, it plugs directly in. The clutch cable bolts in. The pedals bolt in. No issues. Flywheel, everything bolts in. There really is not a difficult part about it. It just takes some time. We did ours on this video. You're gonna see we swapped this car in about 3 afternoons after work. So we probably have about maybe 6 to 8 hours in the manual swap on this car and had no issues. First startup, fired right up, ran and drove. No issues whatsoever. So make sure to keep parts very similar, but if you do interchange between S95 and New Edge as far as your transmissions go, make sure to keep the right harness for what you got, and everything should be fine from there. But without further ado, let me quit talking and let's get into actually installing this transmission in this car and make it a certified ripper. Well, ladies and gentlemen, behind me here is the $1,500 Cobra project, my new drift car. And in today's video, we are fixing one of the biggest issues we had with the car when we picked it up, and that is the fact that it has a 4R70W automatic transmission, which means that we need to swap that out for a manual transmission because A, that's going to make drifting way easier, and B, I think it's just going to make the car way more enjoyable. So it started life as a 99 GT, and in today's video, we're going to be swapping in a T45 from a 96 Cobra, same transmission as what the 99 GT would have came with. And so hopefully by the end of this video, we will have a 5-speed manual, 464 valve Mustang GT that is ready to slide. And while it gets up on this lift here, it's also going to be getting a lot more modifications that you will see in other videos. But yeah, I am so ready to put a manual in this thing. We have Tyler here, the OG owner. How do you feel about this car getting manual swapped? You've had it since you were like 12.
She's blown up a couple of times, but she's still here.
It's I could see the paint flaking off and like hitting the front of the truck as I was driving. I told Brandon, I was like, first time, I'm not gonna smoke you out, but I'm just gonna freaking put so much paint on the front windshield that you're not gonna be able to see out while we're tandeming. I'm so excited for that. Dude, the roof is just kind of like well, boys, we got the car up on the lift, inspecting what we got to take off to get this swap done. Starting off first, we got to take the exhaust off, which isn't going to be hopefully too bad. Tyler's got some mid links that he put up here a long time ago, so we got to take those off. And then after that, I got to get drive shaft out. While I'm doing that, Tyler, I think, is going to focus on taking these cooler lines off the front. We got a trans cooler up front that's probably going to go with the guy. So that should be fine. And then lastly, but not least, I think it's pulling the transmission out. I don't know. I put a bunch of manuals, never an auto, so this is a learning experience for me. I am ready to put a manual in it, though. Bro's locked in. Bro's locked in. We're almost out with the old tranny, the old auto. As you can see, this thing is dang near brand new. Less than 1,000 miles on it, but I am... Good job, you're breaking crap. I am just not an auto fan, so we're gonna continue yanking this thing out right fast.
I can't see.
Oh,
I see.
Okay, Stevie Wonder.
Oh,
Boys, had to run to the auto parts store for Wheel Lucky. Got some food. Brandon bought us pizza. Well, boys, we are currently taking the front suspension off to put coilovers on, and Brandon just definitely almost shot the spring out. I have undone the wiring here, so there's a connector here and a connector right there, and I am routing it back down underneath where the transmission came out. Well, it kind of fell. So we have pretty much got the wiring out for the swap here. Next, I'm going to move inside to get to the pedals and then the shifter console assembly.
Oh, baby.
All right, boys, we are absolutely beat right now because we have been installing coilovers and we have taken out the entire automatic transmission assembly out of this Mustang and are getting ready to go swap it tomorrow. It is currently about 11 o'clock at night. I got about an hour worth of driving to do, and then I have to drive an hour and a half at 7 o'clock in the morning. Actually, 6:30 in the morning, so it's gonna be great. Well, boys, I might be an absolute idiot. I ended up trading the 4R70W over the weekend for a T45 transmission, the whole plan. But it ended up being a T45 out of a 96 to 98 Cobra, which is the wrong transmission. It does not work. So underneath the seats out of the car, we have this T45, which is looking really, really nice. The only problem is the output shaft sensor is different on these, and the wiring harness is different. So I have the wiring harness in here in the toolbox, and there's only one connector here versus the 99s have a 2-pin, and that is because they have an electrical style output shaft sensor, and that pretty much ruins everything. Don't forget the pit bike. Yeah, that ruins everything. So therefore, I can't run this transmission, and I am currently tying up a lift. But the lucky thing here is I found one for sale in Norfolk, Virginia, which is about 2.5 hours away, which means
road trip.
Eventually. We're going to go ahead and start by putting the clutch and flywheel on, which I did trade for, and the pedal box. All of that stuff will work. It's just the main transmission and the wiring harness and the drive shaft that won't. And so I'll be picking all that stuff up in roughly 5 days. But I guess for now, we're going to go ahead and grind it out on trying to get the rest of the stuff in. Yeah, no, I looked it up, and I was trying to, so the trans I got doesn't fit. It won't work. So I'm trading it to a dude in Norfolk this weekend for a 99, like full GT swap. But I'm trading him trans drive shaft, and... Well, boys, we're back working on the Cobra. We are working on the manual swap today. We did a lot of work yesterday. Tyler actually got the pedal box from the 97 Cobra swapped in. Like I said, I got the wrong transmissions, but I talked to Andrew from Mustang Lifestyle, who will be tuning this thing, and he's very confident that we can get it to work. And we're just going to have to do some slight PCM modifications in the tune settings and hope for the best. So we're going to try to throw this transmission in. I got a clutch, flywheel, and everything. I got a cable to throw in and a few other little goodies. Got to finish underneath the dash as far as plugging all the wiring in, and that should be about it as far as everything else goes. We got coilovers on. We also have interior work done. As you can see, I have hot pink racing seats in there, but we have a good bit of work to do today because I want to get this thing out of this shop by the end of the day, and it's currently about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, so that gives me roughly 4 hours to put a transmission in, get an interior installed, and get everything wired up, plumbed up, and running. So wish us luck, boys. So the first step is to actually install a pilot bearing. Since this was an automatic car, it doesn't have a pilot bearing, so I'm just going to take a new Ford pilot bearing and use a block of wood and hammer and smack that thing in. That boy got motion. All right. Oh, God bless this exhaust. All right, so big key note here of doing this swap is you need to make sure that you have flywheel bolts, not flex plate bolts. So they are different sized. You definitely want to make sure you have the right ones. They thread in, there's nothing different but the length, and you make sure you have the right length one, because if you don't, you're going to be screwed. But this is our unknown usage flywheel and clutch. Woo! Wild. So we're gonna send this. We're gonna send it. I don't know if it's heated, anything. I have zero clue. Make sure to put your backing plate on. That's definitely not bent to crap and touching the oil pan. But we're just gonna send it. We're gonna throw some Loctite on these bolts, torque them down to 65 foot-pounds, and hope for the best.
Tight. Click. Click. Click.
Bro, you might be artistic. Chat, you wanna know how clutches line up? Watch this.
Sorry. Transmission's in, clutch is in, clutch line's in. We had to pound the absolute living crap out of these dookie headers and cut the bell housing, but she's in. And we're watching hockey too, so I'm happy.
All right, so if you're like me and you don't care, this is not a big step, but if you do care about your car, make sure to cut in here before you start installing the transmission, because as you can see, I had to take this fancy grinder here to the center console area of the car to get the shifter to fit, and once you already have it in the car, it takes some cutting and some skill that doesn't look the prettiest in the world, but hey, transmission's in there and the shifter tunnel is there, and now I can finally put a shifter in this car.